guys, just an editing clean, quickly jumping in here just to apologize for all the extra sound in this video. You will hear Shadow's paw keep touching the tiles as he is sleeping right next to me and is having a dream. You will also hear the neighbor's dogs. They were quite hectic today for some reason. And then also a chicken. Yes, you are also going to hear a chicken in the background. So I do hope you still enjoyed that video. And just again, I am sorry for all the extra distracting background noise. Well, enjoy the video. Hi guys, what is up and welcome to my channel today. So to be honest, I had no idea what I was going to make this video about. I went from how to photograph flowers to practicing your photography eye to even mobile photography. But I settled on a couple of mistakes beginners make and how to fix them. Okay, so let's start and let's roll the intro. So we already talked about composition and also about the exposure triangle, and these are things that you need to know and also understand to know photography and also how to use your camera. So these mistakes I'm talking about today is in no particular order. So let's get started. So everybody that starts in photography, they make mistakes. I mean, that is how you learn. So mistake number one, your horizon line is not straight. Yes, I have talked about this in my composition photos, but this is actually, you would be surprised what big mistake this is. It's a small, simple mistake that beginners make, and it's just something that you need to fix. I mean, having a crooked horizon line is not appealing to the eye, and it does your photo no good. So just fix it. And how do you fix it? You just take a few extra couple of seconds and just adjust your camera so the horizon line is as straight as possible. And now if there is by some reason that you just couldn't take those few extra seconds to fix your camera, you can always go into Lightroom or into Photoshop and use the crop tool to straighten out that line and to make your horizon line straight. Okay, and then mistake number two, slapping your watermark all over your photo. Now this can be a big fat watermark in the middle or a bunch of small ones all over your photo. Now this is just not appealing at all. This will cover a lot of your image, and it will most likely also cover a lot of key points in your image. And so this can also lead to completely ruining your composition, and so it will just not be a very pleasing photo to look at. Now yes, I do understand that you want to protect your image. It's your photo, you took it, so you want to protect it, you want to get your name out there, which I completely understand. But remember that if you're posting this on social media, your image is already being so much compressed that if someone downloads your image and tries to print it, it will just look completely terrible because the compression is so much you wouldn't be able to enlarge the image to print it. And if you really feel like you do have to put your watermark or logo or whatever on it, then do it, but take a small one and put it in the corner at the bottom of your your image, or put a frame like a white or black frame around your image and then put your watermark there. It's just a simple, easy, better solution, and it will get you more likes and will also get you more noticed. And then mistake number 3, not using a tripod in low light situations. Now, tripods are great. Yes, they are a bit big and bulky, but they do help with your photography a lot. So tripods are great for landscape photography. They are also great for long exposure. They help to stabilize your camera, and also it makes your low light photography just so much better. So what happens if you don't use a tripod in low light? So it means that you will have to bump up your shutter speed, which also means you will have to increase your ISO, and that will mean that your images will be grainy, and then that will just result in terrible photos, which you don't want. So how can we fix this? Use a tripod, as easy as that. So using a tripod in low light situations will just help with the domino effect it will have on your photos if you don't use a tripod. So this means you can increase your shutter speed, but you can also reduce your ISO, which means no grainy photos. Now moving on to mistake number 4, trying to be a jack of all trades. Yes, I get it. There is a lot of different photography types and you want to dip your toes in most of them, if not all of them. I get it. But how about by fixing this? You first only, let's say 2 types. You first only go after 2 types of photography. Now this can be night photography, buildings, portraits, animals, wildlife, whichever you want, but choose only 1 or 2 and then master these 2 types of photography. And mastering these 2 types of photography that you pick, it means you have to spend a considerable amount of time understanding this type of photography. So this will also include how to take this image and what settings to use for this type of photography. And then when you mastered it, only then move on to a different type of photography you also want to try. And this is kind of how you also learn what type of photography you love and which you just do not want to do, because not everyone wants to do every type of photography. Now, if you already know which 1 or 2 types of photography you want to make a career of, then that is great. Now you just need to go and master them. Okay, mistake number 5, not shooting in RAW. Now I know if you shoot in RAW, you have to do post-production, and this means you have to have a subscription to an editing software like Photoshop or Lightroom, but it is worth it. So your camera comes with 2 types of file formats. That will be JPEG and RAW. So what's the difference between these 2? JPEG is a compressed file that does minor adjustments to your photos. So the JPEG format is much smaller than the RAW one. So because it is compressed, you are limited in terms of editing this file. And then your RAW photos stores all of the light your sensor captures. And it does none whatsoever adjustments to any of your photos. So this also means that your photo size is much bigger than JPEG. So fixing this mistake is easy. You just have to go into your camera settings and then you go to your file format and then you just pick RAW instead of JPEG. Okay, moving on to mistake number 6. This goes kind of hand in hand with mistake number 5, and number 6 is post-production. So if you shoot in RAW, post-production is kind of a must because RAW images looks flat and dull compared to the JPEG. So it's kind of a must to do post-production on any RAW image. Also, not a lot of social media, actually no social media or printing company supports RAW images to be printed. You have to convert them. So, how to fix this? You need to get an editing software. I will suggest Lightroom, and then when you're comfortable with Lightroom, move on to Photoshop. It kind of depends what you want to do. If you only want to keep doing small adjustments to your photos, then Lightroom is great. For my photography, I don't need to use Photoshop, so I mainly just stick with Lightroom. So in Lightroom, it's mostly just what you feel your photo lacks and what you want to adjust. So maybe you want to decrease your highlights, or maybe you want to make the black in your photos a little bit darker, and maybe you want to put a touch of vibrance in your images. And also with Lightroom you can mask, so it means you don't have to edit the whole image. You can just pick a subject or the sky and you can just edit those. But I will suggest edit the whole image just a little bit, and then after that you mask your subject that you want to bring forth and highlight, and then you edit your subject. Oh, and just a little FYI for you guys, that if you edit a JPEG image too much, it will lead to shitty quality and also to a lot of grain in your image. This is why shooting RAW is great. Shooting RAW and editing RAW images does not give you grainy, low quality images. And then moving on to mistake number 7, shooting from the same angle every time. It can get boring, it is boring, and will also make your photos plain looking and just dull and not very pleasing to the eye. So fixing this mistake is fun, because this is where you get to experiment. This is where you try different angles, and not just angles, but you also position your body differently, like crouching or laying on the ground or standing on your toes. And then the angles of your photos, you can try to take a photo of your pet from the side, give them that gorgeous side profile photos, or even a flower where you change the angle and you take the photo from above. This is just where you can move your body and your camera and just experiment with angles. So go crazy in a safe way and also experiment with your angles and photography. Mistake number 8, shooting in full auto. Yes, I know when you're a beginner, going manual is quite difficult, and it's just a lot you have to learn and practice. But also full auto will not give you any practice at all. This gives your camera full control over the image you want to take. And yeah, sure, your camera does a pretty good job, but it won't be able to capture that emotion or tell a story the way that you will be able to. And your camera also doesn't know what kind of image you want to take. So let's say you want to freeze motion. Your camera does not know this, so it will choose maybe a slow shutter speed. So what does that mean? That it will be a blurry image, and you don't want that. You don't want a blurry image. So fixing this one does not mean that you have to go full manual. Just go semi-auto with aperture priority mode or shutter speed mode. This will give you some control of the image you want to take. And also just make sure that you choose the right mode for the image that you want to take. It doesn't help that you want to freeze motion and you use the aperture mode instead of the shutter speed mode. So just keep that in mind. Okay, there you have 8 mistakes and how to fix them. Now it's up to you to go and practice them. Because really the only way you will get better at your photography is by practice. Practice and some more practice. Just remember, all these photographers you look up to, yes, they also started exactly where you are today. And do you know how they got where they are today? Yes, by learning and then practicing. Okay, so that's it for today. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and also do remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Until the next video, bye guys.